Welcome to the Carl Experience, Season 3, interview number 2. Dos. Okay. This week, we're interviewing my brat, my daughter, my hell spawn, my hell seed.
I don't know why you're talking. I came from your balls.
Again, my hell spawn, my hell seed. Okay. I wanted to continue the series I was doing on the LGBT community. I'm sorry that everything's backlit. This is her room. She doesn't live with me, so we're making do with what we have.
We're sitting on bar stools. It's quite uncomfortable.
Yes. Not as uncomfortable as, say, sitting on a bed of nails, but yeah.
You win some, you lose some.
It's always a flight or fancy thing. Okay. Introduce yourself.
I am Brianna. You don't get my last name. Well, yeah, because I don't have my dad's last name. Because I don't want you finding me on social media. That's weird. But, shut up. I came from his sperm and my mom's ovaries. Or is that where they come? I don't know.
Ovum and spermatozoa, if you want to go that route.
Okay, I don't live with my dad because I'm a foster kid.
Make it sound really tragic.
It's just a long, woeful tale of an orphan whose father's semi-alive, I guess.
Oh. Now we've gone to manga. Okay. Age?
What is it, 17?
Still 17 until August.
17 big ol' years!
Uh-huh. Recently, a graduate. What school?
Townie's Learning Center, because I'm stupid.
Townie's Learning Center, graduating. She has the diploma. I have pictures of it. I have record of it. Don't have to worry about that no more.
It's sitting right there.
Uh-huh. But I have seen it. They don't need to know anything other than that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Now, here's the weird questions.
You missed a bomb opportunity to get my pride flag in the photo.
Yeah, no. I honestly thought that was a soccer flag, but...
Oh, thanks.
I'm a soccer fan. Come on, okay. Now, your sex is...
Non-binary. Female.
Okay. Now, your gender...
Non-binary.
Your gender identity...
Non-binary.
And your sexuality?
Pansexual.
Pansexual. Okay.
They really give me. So
you're gonna hear a lot of laughing over here.
I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Being an adult is hard.
Uh-huh. Is that what she said after he got done writing?
No, just take me back to your ball sack, man.
This is gonna get weird. But welcome to the show. This is gonna be released in about 4 or 5 days. Because
so it's June 14th now, or 15th, one of those days. I don't know. Time doesn't
No, when my
exist anymore.
cycle, when my data cycle upticks and restarts, I'm at a high-speed data. That's why we're recording this.
So it's a lot less glitchy when you upload it.
I always process them and shrink them anyway.
Well, I know, but either way.
Like, normally the videos come up to be about 7 gig. I shrink them to the point where they're about 300 or 400 megabytes. That's how I can produce so many of them. And then I just erase the big version. But... this will be released. You'll get notified. You'll probably get notified.
I'll get notified.
About it.
Your father uploaded a link to Facebook.
There's going to be about 3 or 4 videos all going to be uploaded the same day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm not watching any of them. I'm just like, oh, cool. The Carl Shroud experience.
Okay. Now, when did you discover your gayness? If that's what you want to call it.
When did I get infected with the gay?
It was from the mist at the light tower.
I don't think... obviously, it's a realization.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that you come to the point
like
where,
a road of discovery.
Yes, yeah. Really. And I think mine... Probably any point in my childhood, to be honest, because Tinkerbell, come on now. You gotta admit, girls kind of fine. I think... the most notable for me, and I wasn't sure how to really describe it, but I don't think I ever really put a label on myself as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was the tomboy. Like 9
The
times.
tomboyish one, yeah.
Yeah.
When your other sister wasn't being a undead turd of a zombie apocalypse wasteland of violence.
Yeah. And for
her older sister used to go into rages and fucking have to be restrained for a while and brought down. Continue.
I think one, it started with never really labeling myself because, like, I don't think growing up like around you a lot of times, it wasn't so much seeing. There wasn't a lot of labels on anything. It was kind of like, hey, this is da 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 da. They're with da 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 da, and that's just kind of the way it was. It was really non-judgmental. And you purposely made it that way.
Yeah, I purposely
but because of that, I wasn't so big on, like, I wasn't just, like, immediately, like, okay, I was boy crazy growing up. Like, I remember having, like, 30 different crushes. But I also remember crying because other girls looked different in dresses than me. And I was like, but they're so pretty. And then also I remember one time, like, I don't know how old I was. I think I was, like, 8, okay, to be honest. And we were watching, it was some movie with, like, Catwoman. And you had to cover my eyes. And I could still see through your hands, and I was pretty much like, dang. I was like, that's interesting. But I don't think I really labeled it. Like, throughout middle school, I did some things with some girls, I guess. And then at the beginning of high school, but I don't think I really ever put a label on it until, like, I think it was, like, the summer between 8th grade and freshman year. And I was like, I don't have a preference. Like, I like people. I mean, I hate people, but, like, some are okay. And I was like, and it doesn't really matter who they are. Well, I mean, it matters who they are, not what they are. Boy, girl, non-binary, trans-mask, trans-femme, anything. Long as you're a semi-decent person. We're not talking about my taste here, so that's completely different. I know I had shit taste.
Yes, you did.
But for a long time, it wasn't like, I wasn't like exclusively interested in like terrible people. But it's mainly meeting a person and seeing the rawest form of them. The form when they're not around other people. When they're acting like completely themselves, no masking, no filters, no nothing. Just being their natural
And I take
self.
it in your experience, a lot of your generation does way too much masking?
Yeah, a lot of it. Like...
The camera didn't pick that up, I'm pretty sure of it.
My phone went off, just so they know. Like, I didn't just stop out of nowhere, like...
Okay.
It's just a matter of... A lot of our generation does mask. They pretend to be something they're not to fit in up until a certain point. And a lot of times... This might sound a little bit sketchy, I promise. I promise it's not that bad. Being around people when they're not around other people and they feel comfortable around you, that's when the truest part of themselves come out. Like, the part that's not afraid to goof around. Let's take toxically masculine men, for example.
Yeah.
I've met a few who have admitted to being bi-curious, but obviously that's not my place to out or anything. But they can confide in that into me one-on-one, but they think if they tell their
you're
friends...
mentioning names, it really doesn't matter what you're saying about them.
But they'll be like, well, you can't tell my friends, because what if they make fun... If they make fun of you, are they really your friends? Because why is that such a bad thing?
I don't know. My friends growing up, we all made fun of each other. We used to rip the shit out of each other.
It's like the toxically masculine form, like, oh, they're not going to accept me, or they're going to beat me. You know what I mean? The whole shebang.
Yeah, from my experience, it was when my parents thought I was gay growing up, because at one point they actually thought I was full-blown gay.
Aw, you don't want to be part of the Fruit Basket family? The alphabet mafia, if you will?
You're just funny as hell. But when my friends used to kid me about being gay, because I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, we used to stay up all night and then get really, really high and really, really drunk. And if they ribbed you about it but didn't pick on you, then it was, we're gonna make fun of what you are, but as far as attacking you personally, no, we're just gonna rib the shit out of you until... This
is more of a sense of a toxically masculine person hanging around a group of toxically masculine person. Where being gay might as well mean you're interested in them just because they're of the same sex. Even if they're only bi-curious, which literally is not a lot. Well, not demystifying. It's just not a... It doesn't mean you're exclusively interested in men or, like, the same sex.
Here, we're going to move the camera over to there so we can... have some light on us.
Okay.
Because we look like we're just begging for some
Don't
weird
show my
silhouette.
Where are we moving the camera to?
We're gonna move it over there.
Are you gonna have to edit this out?
No, it's gonna stay in.
Then the
Okay,
picture-
watch out. I'm sitting on this side of you so I can hear you. Yeah, that means move that chair.
I don't know where I'm going. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's no mess behind you. You're blind. That's what this is.
Okay. See? Now they can see us.
I preferred it better in the darkness.
Oh, tough shit,
Come here,
Vampira.
Luna. Come here. Say hi.
Now, so you made that discovery, and what do you think of the state of the LGBT community as of right now with everything as the shitstorm that it is?
As much as so many people try and deny it, there's a lot of different forms of phobias within the community itself. Like, it's not just homophobia or transphobia from the outside. There's a lot of discourse, not just a little bit, going on within. And, I mean, it's because there's umbrella terms and a bunch of other things, and it can be really messy. And, pansexuals and bisexuals sometimes get the brunt of it.
I haven't
some of the
seen
homophobia.
that, but I'm not saying it's... I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I haven't seen it.
Oh, fair enough. A lot of it comes from the argument that pansexual isn't a real sexuality because the bisexual meaning has changed from a person attracted to the same gender and other gender identities. And pansexual is being attracted to all genders with no preference. And then there's also omnisexual, which is very similar to pansexual, but it's not the same because they're... the part about being pansexual is there's a big part of it that's kind of like you don't really take gender into account. Gender doesn't really matter. And a lot of omnisexuals, not a lot, some that I have encountered have tried misconstruing that to be, oh, well, I actually register with someone's gender. I am fully aware. I'm going to respect your pronouns, any name you go by, whatever. It's just gender isn't a very big... There's no cool way to word it, really. But it isn't as big of a deal to me. Like, you be what you feel comfortable with as yourself. And that's enough to make me happy.
I would say the exception to that would be identifying as a unicorn or a horse.
I don't think that's a part of the LGBT. I don't know, I might be a little unversed, but
according to what I've read in some places, it's actually a part. Just like the dreaded attraction to children bit.
That...
Yeah,
please,
I just felt
people were
that iceberg.
People were trying to weaponize that. Like, you really think anyone in their right mind within the LGBTQ community is going to be like, yes, pedophilia. No, it's not. It's not a sexuality. It is an issue. And it is an issue that's not being allowed within our community.
A mental health issue.
Yes, it's not even mental. Yeah, a lot of mental health. Like, you're supremely fucked in the brain and you need to go the fuck away forever. Especially if you can't control it. Like, that's disgusting. And no one in the community really should be standing by that. And anyone I am friends with, in particular, that is within the community, is not okay with that. Because that is disgusting. That is not a sexuality preference. It is not an age thing. This tends to stem more from gender or sex. And it's almost as bad as the super straights.
The super straights?
Did you not hear about that one?
No, I have not. Please inform me.
This is a big thing a while back. I don't think you heard much of it because that was when I was still what you like to deem a social warrior social justice warrior. Mm-hmm. Facebook. This super straight thing was created by what? I think it's definitely men. Come on, it's all men. No, I'm just kidding. I don't hate men. They kind of sucky, but that's pretty much just my taste. No, they had decided that they were going to make a new sexuality. And the sexuality was going to be super straight. They had a little flag for it. I'm not going to bother pulling it up. It looked like Pornhub. It was stupid.
Okay.
But the point behind it really was just, I would never get with a trans woman or a trans man because I don't know what's in their pants. And when the argument was brought up by the LGBTQ community, what if they had bottom, top, you know what I mean? You couldn't tell. Like, genitalia-wise, having a genitalia preference is completely different. Like, if you don't want to screw a woman who hasn't gotten bottom surgery yet, that's fine. That is your call, that is your genitalia preference, but trying to create a sexuality where you're ignoring, like, the big part of people who may have fully finished transitioning fully, like, how are you going to know the difference? They were like, well, a doctor crafted it. I mean, you're telling me you could tell the difference from some vagina made at the doctor's office compared to what you're getting at home? It's going to have the same feeling, my guy.
This one made by God. This one made by Dr. Schwartz.
And it was just incredibly transphobic. And it caused a lot of discourse among straights and the LGBTQ community.
Well, going along the same strain, there was that movement within the trans woman thing about straight men need to date trans women. And I really sunk my teeth into that because it's like, okay, you've got this guy who transitioned to a girl. He still hasn't gotten all the surgery done. But
respect the she part at least.
This person is still slamming people and looking nastier with every year. I've checked up on this person.
So it's a specific person.
It's a specific person.
Please still respect the pronouns though, because I don't know much about it.
And this person still claims that straight cis men need to start dating trans women, to be open to. It's like,
I feel like asking,
you can't tell me to do that and then expect me to just...
Asking them to be more open to it is one thing. I understand being like, hey, like, go out on a fucking date with me. You don't have to screw me or you don't have to take me home. But, like, if you could not tell, and it shouldn't even matter about passing at this point. It really doesn't. Passing, do you know what passing is? I assume.
Yes, okay. I do know what passing is.
It shouldn't really
matter.
I
have some trans friends.
I don't think it's so much to say, hey, you guys should be a little more open-minded, especially considering a lot of transphobia when it comes to cis straight men will be like, oh, well, that's gay.
Thinking in that mindset, it might be considered
toxic.
That way psychologically.
It's toxic. I think it's a very toxically masculine thing. I understand not wanting to sleep with a woman who has not had bottom surgery, or a man who has not had bottom surgery. I get it. If you're looking for something genitalia-wise, that is one thing. But being open to taking someone out on a date, especially if you don't even know they're trans, and then, like, you find out and you're like, oh, well, this is over, like, I'm not gay, like... That's so extra for what?
I find the problem with the whole transphobic community thing being that guys, when guys go into that, and then they're like, well, I can't do this because you're not a female, we can't have kids.
I'll show you something really quick.
Oh, God.
Get that top message from Hannah. Just talking about Trina.
Yeah, didn't want to know that, but I find that it's odd that the guys that go on dates with these passable or unpassable, I don't know which one it is, but they go on dates with these trans women and then they get a few dates in, and then when they find out that the person isn't who they thought they were, they storm off. And yet 30 seconds ago, this guy was talking about a relationship, having kids, all this crap. Is like,
I don't see how that
okay, you built a fantasy on what they looked like.
Exactly. You know what I
so
mean?
For me, that tells me that tells me either you are delusional and easily convinced of stuff, or two, you're not paying attention.
I just think it's a gross mindset. I mean, how are you gonna... it's that some people are even arguing, well, you need to tell me on the first date. Someone shouldn't have to out themselves to you immediately. I feel like if you're just... Say someone swipes, right on Tinder for you, and you go out on a couple dates, and, nothing progresses to the point of being sexual if that's a time they would bring it up. You can't even be mad. It was dates. You didn't know the person. They don't owe you immediately being, hey, by the way, I am someone who's transitioning from...
Well, there's a certain like third or fourth date thing where you need to be discussing that.
Oh, of course. But it shouldn't... Some people expect it to be right off the fucking bat. And I don't understand that mindset. Okay, are you going to tell me what's in your pants right away? You're going to walk up to me and be like, yo, I got a date.
If I'm being a smartass, I would tell you croutons.
Yeah, okay.
I know.
But I mean, if you're going on a first date...
That was wildly inappropriate, but it worked.
If you're going on a date with a woman, the first thing you say to her will not be, by the way, I got a dick in my pants, just so you know.
That's like walking up to her, hey, are your tits real?
Yeah, it's completely, for one.
Who cares? If you're a guy, you're seeing boobs, who cares?
If you're going on a date with someone, they're so, it's a lot to unpack. And I feel like that argument shouldn't be coming from me. Because I don't really personally understand the struggles of that. We do have 2 trans-masked people here, actually. Aries and their girlfriend, Katie, said they would also be willing to talk to you if you wanted that for your podcast.
I don't know. I haven't thought about that yet. I just struggled to get this one.
I know.
Now...
But that way, they would probably be better at explaining the struggles within the trans community. Because one of the kids here does have... it's already on testosterone. And starting the transitioning process. And then Aries has been subdued a little bit, obviously. But Aries has been struggling for years trying to get people to respect his pronouns and just his dead name not being spoken.
Now, in my own defense, if I do say the wrong name or the wrong pronoun,
it's a matter of just reminding.
I know. For me, it's a process of trying to remember it. Because, yeah, some of the people tell me their names and like 5 minutes later, I totally forget because I'm too busy in the conversation.
It's standard, but like it's okay. I'll help. I got this. I'm good with pronouns.
Not even gonna touch that one. Just hands off. Wash the hands off. That was so mildly Deadpool entertaining. It's just you had to clean the hands off and maybe squeegee my brain just a hair bit.
It's Pride Month.
Okay. What to you seems to be the biggest of the bad issues concerning the LGBT community umbrella? And I only say umbrella because... Is that within it
or is that coming from within or coming from outside of it?
Coming from within it. Not coming from without, because I already know there's a buttload of challenges. But the negative within.
I think... Probably, in my opinion, one, it would be... This one's a mixture of inside and outside.
Yeah, go ahead.
People of color youth. There tends to be a lot of homophobia in that area towards them, and sometimes coming from their peers. But I don't think that is the most prominent issue, and I'm also not qualified to speak on that again. Mm-hmm. I think it would be probably between a lot of the lesbians and bisexuals and people under the bisexual umbrella. Solely because there is members within both of those communities who are trying to devalidify each other. Like lesbians saying, oh, well, you're not really bi because you don't date women all that often. Well, I mean...
If you're looking for a quality woman, they're relatively hard to find.
Same with men. It's just not easy. And sometimes
I'm aware
flirting with women for someone who is under the bisexual umbrella is a million times harder. Because a lot of times we grow up just being like, oh yeah, man, that's the normal. And then you're like, men aren't the only thing that's nice. We've got other options, and they're also pretty great.
Yeah, it's leaving the heteronormatives.
Yes, and I mean, I've told you, I suck at flirting with women. The only person I can flirt with is my best friend Sierra, and we're planning on getting married in our 30s. Big gay for each other, okay?
Hey,
but
whatever.
We're not... I can't flirt with, random women. I know you could probably walk up to a chick and be like, whatever, flirting.
No, I use my personality and my intellect on that.
See, I don't...
It doesn't always work because women...
around women
women... If you go into a bar, women aren't going to be dazzled by your intellect. They're going to be dazzled by what you're wearing. If you're wearing bling and spending a buttload of money...
Do you pull out them skinny jeans you got just for mom?
No.
You don't like wearing your skinny jeans to the bar?
No. Hell, I ain't even been to the bar in forever anyway.
It's okay.
I stopped going to the bar regularly back when you were a kid.
When I turned 21, my friend. When I turned 21.
Yeah, you ain't there yet. But yeah, I stopped going to the bar back when you were younger because I realized my job was to personally guarantee you guys grew up the correct way. From my end of it. But yeah, women tend to like guys who are obviously toxically masculine. Because the biggest baller with the biggest attitude is the one who gets the girl. A lot of the time at the bar. I noticed that a lot of times. You'll find that out when you get older.
No, I've already noticed some of it. I hear it on both sides of the spectrum. All sides of the spectrum, really.
She'll get it. I'll train her yet to not get up when she's not supposed to.
I find that toxicity in general comes from all ends of the spectrum, because there's men or boys, probably more like boys than men,
because they haven't really grown up and got.
They'll be like, "Oh, well, I can't be in something that's not toxic." Is it that, or is it that you just don't want to have to actually grow as a person? You want to be able to shift the blame onto the other person the whole time because your toxicity is a little bit less than theirs. And same with some women. They'll be like, "Oh, but I only date bad boys or toxic men." Is that really what you're going for, or is it just an excuse not to work on yourself and to better yourself and grow as a person and grow as a relationship?
And I think a lot of people who hit the bar scene should come to that realization. But honestly, that's what the alcohol's for, so they can forget that they're supposed to be responsible adults. Yeah. Hence why I had you later than a lot of my friends had kids, because while they were all out partying and going through divorces and custody battles, I was at home drinking beer, making sure you kids didn't kill each other, which was really helpful in the long run, considering I kind of like my kids. Even though they caused me a little more baldness than I'd like.
Where's them gray hairs at, my guy? Let me pluck them out.
Oh, no. I earned these. I got them now. I'm past 40. I'm good. If I go completely gray tomorrow, that'll be okay by me.
Leave my slippers.
Now, do you see any difficulty in your position in the greater LGBT community as it stands?
I think... Do you want to elaborate a little bit so I can get the fullness of the question instead of just giving an arbitrary answer?
Do you feel that do you feel that you're in the appropriate position within the umbrella of LGBT in where it's going now?
I think so, yes. I know there's a lot of toxicity within the communities themselves. There's a lot of issues. And that's stuff that's being worked on. Albeit not everyone is willing to work on themselves and the role they play in the community. And, that happens within every community. We act like all straight people are great. No, a lot of them really suck.
No, some straight people are just... Should have suffered from late-term abortionism.
Yeah. But, there's going to be bad people in every community. But the community itself is, one, doing a lot better than it ever has. But a lot of people forget where it started.
That depends on where you consider the starting point to be, though.
That's actually Pride Month. So let's go with Pride. Let's go with Pride. Pride Month. And the Pride festivals. That all started with Stonewall. It started 1970s. Mm-hmm, it started with
I was wondering where you were going. Then when you said Stonewall, aha, the 70s.
Yes. One, she was a person of color. She was a sex worker, which most people forget about. And
you and I don't forget those details.
Yes. And she was also a trans woman.
Just trying to play with your curtain line
she's been
thing.
playing with it.
Okay. Just want to make sure. She
started... the Pride Fest and all of that. But it didn't start as a festival. It started as a riot. Because at the time, obviously, I assume you know the best of the details, or I like to assume you do.
Yeah, I've done some reading on it.
There were bans on wearing a certain amount of female clothes, depending on what's in your pants. And, cops would try and shake you down and, search your pants. That is completely fucking disgusting.
Cops at the time were... Corrupt. And they were from the good old boy system, because there were an assload of cops out in the Oakland area, over by where the riots took over.
I love to smoke a cigarette while you're in your podcast.
It's your lungs, not mine. I'm gonna smoke when I get home.
Okay.
Besides, if I get in trouble for it,
what are they gonna do? Tell my mom.
What are they gonna do? Oh my god!
Tell my mom.
Smoking a cigarette.
What are you gonna do? Tell my mom.
Anyway, it's funny how a lot of the cops from the good old boy systems from the South made it all over America at the time. They were literally extortionists and rapists and murderers at the time.
I think my favorite
because if you've read enough about it, you realize that they did rape some of the people there.
It was
and we're not
disgusting.
talking like in an alley. We're talking 16 cops around one person. They strip them down, whether they're male or female, and sodomize them or sexually assault them and rape them until the cop or cops were done with whatever they were doing.
It was
and then they would just
vile.
leave them dead after beating the crap out of them.
It was absolutely
while they were
vile. And I think my biggest part of discourse right now within... It stems around Pride Month. It comes from all the younger ones. I'm not saying it's just the younger ones, saying that kink shouldn't be at Pride.
Saying that what should be?
Kink.
Okay.
And to some degree, yes, I feel like there's definitely parts that are more like, you know, for the younger ages, but I feel like that should definitely still be 13 and up. Because at the riots, it was some of the sex workers, the people involved in kinks, coming out and fighting alongside. Because some of the shit that was going down couldn't be taken lightly. It wasn't something that was easy to do. There were people decked out in leather, coming out, fucking, you know, doing their thing. Yeah. Because they were kind of the muscle at the time.
Well, that's where the village people came from with the biker wearing leather is from the kink scene.
Yes.
The gay
and
kink
a lot of
scene.
people are trying to be like, oh, well, kink shouldn't... No, kink plays a big part in Pride.
Kink plays a certain aspect, but it's not...
It doesn't have to... It's not supposed to revolve around it.
I don't think it needs to be as central. I think there
definitely should be some blocked off, like 18-plus parts. Because they deserve to be included. They were a part of that fight, and they were a part of that struggle.
What I'm saying is I think that the kink part, like with the leather pants or the chaps, whatever that crap is, that should be a fringe fashion statement, not we are kink. And automatically pull out a whip or a cat of nine tails.
I don't mind.
Or a ball gag. I mean, wearing a ball gag in a parade is just dumb to begin with.
I mean, if that's what they're willing to suffer through, that's fine. And to some aspects of it, displaying kinks, like, you know, like, I'm gonna whip this dude, I'm gonna walk this man in, like, a thong, on a leash, like, yeah, that probably shouldn't be just walking down the street. But I definitely feel like kink deserves to be included, and a lot of people have been trying to shut out the sex
as an accessory thing.
Oh, yeah, no,
that way you can see it. I mean, if you got a pair of boxers on, or even, you know, lycra biker shorts and you're wearing assless chaps, who cares? It's when you've got your plain ass hanging out of chaps in front of children that it tends to be the issue.
Oh, for sure. But I feel like a lot of people, especially now that Pride has been so, capitalized off of. Yeah. Big companies going, oh my god, look, here's my Pride collection.
Commercialized.
Yes, and it's become more of a thing for big companies than what it all really started as.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it being a Pride festival. Yeah, that's great. Like, sell stuff that makes you happy. But I feel like it's been so commercialized that they're trying to block out the worst of it.
Now, here's a good comparison on that. Pride is supposed to be like a Coca-Cola commercial. No big name speakers, just everybody enjoying life and loving it. Pepsi, on the other hand, hires huge superstars, pays them exorbitant fees to star in a commercial which sucks. It doesn't make you feel good. It's like, okay, they want us to drink Pepsi. Coke, they're like, here's our product. Here's us all having fun. No big names here. And then they go to another commercial.
Yeah. And that's what it's supposed to be, but a lot of times it feels like they're trying to hide. They're like, oh, well, you're wearing leather. That's really unseemly. That shouldn't be a part. It deserves a part.
No worse. Played a role. I don't think it's any worse than a woman in a string bikini walking around in a parade.
Oh yeah, but that's so great. We love that, and a lot of people are trying to take that out because it's not fitting their perfect little view of what it should be. Forgetting that it didn't start as a happy little festival where we're all marching the streets being like, yeah, hell yeah,
that's why I asked you which area what you're calling the start of it.
I'm talking in the sense of Pride Month. Yeah. And it's...
Because if you start earlier than Stonewall, there are 5 or 6 minor incidents before that could be credited.
This is the first big one that kind of...
The Stonewall riots were...
Fucking...
They were pretty much
they pushed everything forward.
What is it? The geosynthesis or whatever of most of what we know as Pride.
Yeah, and a lot of people seem to be forgetting where that all started, and I think that's painful. You know, that's how we repeat what's happened, in all honesty, and that's like probably humanity's like biggest fucking flaw at this point, is forgetting what's happened and repeating it.
We did that several times since I've been alive.
Yeah.
And every time I keep telling people things are cyclical, oh, this won't ever happen again. Yeah, it will, because we're fucked. We're fucking human. Stupid, and we forget about history. Those of us who know history don't repeat it. We try to help people not relive a toxic cycle. But guess what? We just want to live in peace. Peace isn't free.
Yeah, you have to actually
You have to
look
pay
for it.
You have to pay for that piece.
Stonewall is like a good prime example of that. Moving forward into what Pride is now,
Yeah,
it's a lot more peaceful.
A related but closely linked thing is gays waited, most of the LGBT community waited from the 60s and 70s till gay marriage was normalized or legalized by the Supreme Court. Then, literally not even 5 years later, all of the trans people were then shouting, well, we want our rights right now. We can't, you only get one progressive movement for every so many years. Now, knowing that you are at least somewhat read and you actually pay attention to things, how do you feel about the trans community raging about their opportunity need to be right now? It needs to have already happened.
I feel like the urgency of it, I understand it. It's a completely understandable want.
I get that.
In some case, maybe even a need. Not my place to really say. But expecting it to happen right away is not going to happen. It's like saying racism, immediately ended. It didn't. It took a lot of fucking work, a lot of pushing, and it's still here in a lot subtler forms than it used to be. Mm-hmm. But it's not gone yet. And even with gay marriage being legalized, there's still issues.
But that was a huge.
It was a huge
glass ceiling.
Oh yes.
I know, because now every year when me and my wife celebrate our anniversary, so do thousands of other gay couples, because they decided to legalize it the day before my wedding anniversary. And guess what? Everybody got married the next day.
Hey, but it's still a big monument to be able to marry the person you are head over heels for, the person you want to spend the rest of your life with.
I know. I'm just pointing out the ironic.
It's very big in just in society. Being married is a big thing, and wanting to be able to transition to be the you that you are on the inside instead of just what people see you as. It's an understandable want. It's an understandable thing.
Yeah.
But it's not something that happens overnight. And I wish that it was. And I wish that it could be. But that's going to take a lot of work. There's a lot of arguments being brought up. And there's a lot of different factors that go into it. And, it's completely...
I got to stand up for a minute. My ass is going numb.
It's completely
this
fine.
This is why I stand behind the chair. So I stay in frame.
It's a very big... I think it's understandable, but it's not plausible. I think that's the easiest way to put it. It's understandable wanting the right to be able to transition to who you are and the truest form of yourself, but it's unrealistic to ask for that to happen as soon as possible after the first big milestone in our community, and it's been a pretty long time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Has happened. And, there are so many factors that go into that. One, being put on the testosterone or the estrogen.
Yeah, hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah, it's something that can be... It's amazing, so I've heard, for, people who are, going through it. But it's something that takes a lot of work. One, money. Two, and other things. It's not something that's immediately going to happen. There's restrictions. There's stuff that we don't even fully understand about it yet. Mm-hmm. There's still research that has to be done.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
To make it... something that's going to be perfectly safe.
Here's a really stupid one. Just because we're on the subject of trans people. Now, I'm sure you remember the whole bullshit about trans people being in bathrooms. Now, what was your take? What was or is your take currently on that? For me, myself, when I go to a baseball game or any event, there's a lot of people in, and there's not a line in the men's room, and there's two guys in there pissing. What do the women do? Run in, take up the toilets, and then they rush out, and it's okay, as long as you're not looking at my dick, who cares?
Right.
That's what straight guys do. And gay guys probably do that too. But a lot of people made a huge deal out of nothing over something that happens probably every day.
Well,
what was your take on it?
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into that, obviously. There's a lot of factors that go into everything.
I know, but I'm just asking you.
My personal opinion, what's the big deal? What are you going to do? Are you going to literally force someone to show you their genitals every time they walk into a bathroom just because they don't present as what you personally deem as a man? Are you if someone looks in and they look a little too feminine, you'd be like, show me your dick, right? No, you're not. Because it's unrealistic, and that's a fast-ass way to catch
It's a bathroom. Piss or shit.
It's a fast-ass way to catch a fucking sexual harassment charge is what it is. And the
You're
argument...
where you meet the right person, a good way to meet a fist.
Yeah. And, they were talking about, oh, well, what if sexual predators come in? If a sexual predator is...
A sexual predator isn't likely to hit in a public restroom situation like that. They're more likely to wait in a park or some secluded area where there's not a lot of people.
And not even just that. It was the argument of, well, we're going to know what's in your pants. You know how many people have gone off on masculine lesbians for going into, they have to be like, yeah, dude, I got titties, I got a vagina. Just because they're facing harassment for going into that fucking bathroom and not looking feminine enough for some women.
I've known some women who are very, very manly. I mean, it's like,
exactly.
Okay, you might be trans, but you need to relieve yourself, and I really don't give a shit what you're packing at all. As long as you're not trying to fucking put a knife to my throat or a gun to me, I really don't care.
But, the problem was that they were like, oh, we're going to know what's in your... They barely understand what a masculine lesbian may look like, or a very masculine woman. And why does that even bug them? Come on, they're just trying to piss, just like you are. If someone comes into the bathroom that is very feminine, into, the men's restroom...
Oh, I've been in a two-stall bathroom where the next guy that walks in is a flamer.
Yeah.
He all,
it's not gonna
doing
hurt
that
you.
Gucci thing with that wrist, with that limp wrist thing. Whips out his dick, goes to the bathroom, or sits down, takes an earth-shattering shit.
Did you hear about how some schools were trying to, sorry.
No, I understand. I get it. Like I said, I had to get up because my ass is going numb.
It's not going
These
numb,
are not the most comfortable chairs.
They're bar stools, so...
But you were saying.
I'm sure you heard about the debacle of some schools wanting to legalize being able to see what's in their students' pants before entering the bathroom if they didn't look right.
That's actually illegal to do. But
it's illegal as fuck, but what does that bring us back to?
Because that violates their right to privacy.
Yeah, and Stonewall faced something very similar to that. They faced the brutality of it, and the fact that schools won and were whether it was going to get passed or not, the fact that was even an argument was fucking bullshit.
The word down the pipeline right now is they're trying to make a movie that is based on the Stonewall riots.
If they don't do it justice, I'm fighting.
Well, accordingly, it's on Hulu or Netflix backlog, because right now the only thing that Netflix is really giving a damn about is Perry Mason and The Sandman, because The Sandman's fucking going nuclear before it even gets released. Mm-hmm. And that should be out later this year, because I'm going to download it. A huge Sandman freak here. Yeah. But, apparently, somebody is doing a movie based on the Stonewall riots, and it's supposed to be similar to, I don't know if you've seen these movies, but Judas and the Black Messiah, or The Trial of the Chicago 7. If you haven't seen them,
what are you chewing on? The fuck did you get a hold of? That's a hanger. I'll be fine.
If you haven't seen their movie, watch Trial of the Chicago 7. I know that seems like such a weird boost for that movie, but I'm her dad. I like her watching good movies.
Well, so for example, there is a show currently on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a Netflix original, but I could be wrong. I think it's mid-Netflix. Who fucking knows? It's called Pose. And the original timeline, it starts in 68, 69, and it's about trans, gay, whole LGBTQ really.
Yeah, the whole umbrella.
And drag. I think there's a bit of drag in there. Not a whole lot, but it's good. But it's mainly LGBTQ focused. Mm-hmm. And people of color. And it takes place then, and it shows some of their struggles. I mean, it is very dramatic. It is kind of, it's not a historical, very historical, but it brings up enough of the issues that were going on just then. Yeah. And there's people still to this day who purposely seek out trans, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah,
because that's their little fetish.
There's an actual channel on I forget where it's at, but trans hunters. Yeah, they actually go gross. Looking for trans men and women, and apparently they've had to slow down a lot.
It's disgusting.
But the stuff they do is illegal. It isn't allowed, and because they do everything on the down low, the people who made that show are not in prison, which is where they should be.
That's
considering
disgusting.
I think they've contributed to the direct deaths of 5 trans people.
Yeah. And there's stuff like that. It talks about stuff that happens, how some of them are making money, One of the main characters in the show, she goes by Electra.
Sounds like a new version of the L word. But.
It's very, but she ends up getting her bottom surgery, and you know what I mean. That's a big milestone, and it talks about just like a way a lot of that community was hidden, and it takes place in what was it, New York? It's a really, I've just finished it actually, and I think it's very interesting.
I was gonna say because Stonewall didn't happen there; it happened in California. So you're talking clear across.
I know,
the country.
but it's still talking a lot about like how AIDS wasn't being addressed because it was something. Oh, well, that's unsightly.
AIDS back in the 80s was a gay people disease.
I know, and that's why it was so gross.
Freddie Mercury was like the establishment poster boy.
Well, they were talking about the racism
like,
behind it as well. Like there was in a lot of cases, it was like. Oh, these little, it was also talking about, like the beautification of different streets where it was like, there's not going to be any more ghetto type thing. You know what I mean? The stereotypical racism that, white people were trying to push in different situations.
Also different. It was also a very different era. Like, if you go back to the 60s and the 50s and 60s and even the 70s, there was still a lot of the good old boy mentality of, well, we're doing it because we want it to look this way. Even if the neighborhood's thriving and making an ass gaggle of money, it needs to get torn down because this person who's supposed to be in power is saying that we want it to look our way, nicer, even if money is flowing, even if it's all legitimate money, not drug dealing or pimping or any of that crap.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say whoring because not all prostitutes have pimps.
Hey, Momo's, just say hi. Say hi.
Yeah, it's her dog Luna.
She's a big baby. She's probably half the background noise going on, honestly. She's chewing on hangers,
I won't know about that until I get home.
She's about 10 months old, actually.
Oh, 10 months?
We can talk about that afterwards.
Yeah. Down. Down. Don't worry about it. If I can deal with a kid, I can deal with this pretty easily.
She just wants to say hello.
Now, are you what's considered now a social justice warrior?
I don't think I'm as strong as I used to be, but my stances are all still the same. I stand by those, and that just goes to my morals and personally the way I see the world and how I've experienced it. Because me and you haven't had the same experiences in life, obviously.
Yeah, well, we don't even have the same opinions a lot of the time.
Yeah,
but we can talk about it.
You respect my opinion, and I respect yours as much as I can in some cases. Because sometimes when they step into kind of the territory of like my life, what are you? Okay, that's just Scooby Doo. You can have him. No.
Nope.
Some things, like, I still don't let my guy friends getting away with talking about. I had, what was it? Well, I don't want to name names, obviously, it's a podcast. But I cut him off recently, you heard about it. He wanted to play the devil's advocate. I understand that at times, but when you were talking to me about the right for the reason why gay marriage shouldn't be legalized, you better believe I'm going to come at you with, like, fury. Because if I fall in love with a woman, who are you, as someone who's just related to the opposite sex, and has always had the right to get with who you want, especially as a white man, who is straight. Like, all throughout history, you've pretty much been able to get with who you want, depending on classism, at the time. But you've had it generally pretty easy. If I was to fall in love with a woman and you want to tell me I can't marry her because why? And he wanted to play the devil's advocate for that argument. And for a lot of arguments, he had no right even trying and attempting to play the devil's advocate in. And being like, well, you're wrong. No, I'm not wrong. We come from two different opinions and perspectives. And you don't get to
schools of thought.
Yes, and you don't get to look at me and tell me I'm wrong when you've had a really nice life. Like, I mean, middle class, never really had to work for anything, parents still babying him, and he's like in his 20s. I have no idea what any of that's like. Absolutely perturbing. Always been able to get pretty much whoever he wants. And honestly, it's pretty much a giant dick. And he wanted to try and play the devil's advocate. I don't get why you're being so upset. Because you were trying to tell me my rights as a human and my right to love who I want to love is wrong. That's not... You don't get to make that call, and no one really should get to make that call.
I understand how that can be frustrating.
And, I ended up cutting him off, because he wasn't respecting the fact that, one, I was going through things he didn't understand, because he never had actually been through it, And then two, that...
Judging by his position in life, I'd say he hadn't been through a whole lot of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely not. And he would try coming at me.
Because
like,
diversity and difficulty build character, and apparently he didn't have very much of that.
Yeah.
So.
And I'd be like, at times, like, yeah, I understand playing the devil's advocate. Me and you will play the devil's advocate for each other on certain opinions. Even if I full-heartedly agree, they'd be like, but what if?
Yeah, we can play the what-if game.
It is not his place to play the devil's advocate, when it comes to just a number of different social justice movements and other things. I still stand the same on pretty much everything. And those haven't changed. My ferocity fighting for them has died down a bit. Not on purpose, but just because it's getting tiring arguing with old white cis men.
Oh, geez.
Because God and Trump said so! No, man, it's not the point. That's not the point of my argument. My argument is, like, I had an old coworker. He was like...
It's more theological and philosophical.
I was dating my ex-girlfriend at the time, right? When I worked at Arby's. He was a white supremacist. And I mean, like, cult Trump following. I understand supporting the man, but, like, hangs off of every word he says. Like, it is in the Bible. And he'd be like...
I've known some people that are like that, yeah.
Inside work, he'd be pretty respectful about it. And he'd be like, he honestly didn't... He was homophobic outside of work. But in work, you can't do that because bye-bye! But he was like,
especially with the new law that's about to be passed.
Yeah, he was like, I don't see why you like women. I was like, okay, well, my guy, you like women. Why do you like women? He was like, well, they've got nice bodies, they've got pretty voices, they look pretty.
Yeah,
they have a good time with it.
Boobies and vagina.
I was like, you think I can't be attracted to that same thing? You don't think I don't find it pretty? You think I don't see him and be like, oh my god, this woman is a goddess? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, it's the same thought process.
I'm not lesbian, unless you want to consider a straight man a lesbian in a guy's body, but...
It was just trying to explain it to him. But outside of work, he was trying to be like, well, you have no right being gay. How are you going to tell me my rights? How are you going to tell me who I'm attracted to? And trying to argue with him about it and just a bunch of different people over it was getting annoying. I will not tolerate intolerance. I mean, unless you're being, like, you know. I do tolerate...
I could see you tolerating intolerance if it was part of a pointed debate, making
but within friendships, if you're going to tell me that I have no right and there's no way I'm attracted to the same gender, bye bye.
Oh, sorry, my ass went numb again, people. These chairs are rather taxing. They're like riding a motorbike for too long. Oh, ass feels like it's taking a pounding. No Deadpool jokes, please. I know you want to go there.
You don't want to get.
No. You don't need to pull on the strap-on for International Women's Day. No. Okay, let's see where we are here first. We are at 52 minutes, so we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And this is just this is like a decent start to it.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I don't tolerate intolerance when it comes to being bigoted against something that you have no right being bigoted against.
I'm just looking out the window to see if my truck is still there. No. Oh, the rims are going. No. It was on cinder blocks, man.
No, it's I don't tolerate intolerance of most forms, especially when it's something that you probably have no right having a say in. You know what I mean? I understand wanting to come from a different perspective. I understand not seeing things eye to eye. But if you're gonna tell me you don't like gay people because they're gay and you're straight, I think you're stupid. I don't understand it, and that could just be me not being straight. But like, I don't understand homophobia at all. Or transphobia, for that matter. And I don't see why you're scared of something that doesn't pretty much affect you.
I get certain kinds of transphobia because when I was growing up, we didn't have all this that you have today. Like, when I was your age, we had a guy who put on lipstick and walked around.
Wait. Question. Can you put Feet Luna in the subtitles?
What?
On the subtitle for your podcast name?
Do what?
Featuring Luna.
I suppose I can.
Surprise appearance from Doggo. Come here, mamas. Say hi for the
You'll know by the time this video comes out whether I did or not.
Hi, baby. Say hi. No, you can't.
Now, as far as social justice warrior movement goes, moving along the same thread, do you believe that the police should be defunded, or do you believe the police reform needs to be introduced instead?
Is it fair to say both?
Yeah, that's fair.
I think, one, it needs to be defunded and tear to the fucking ground because of how it started and the ways that are still in place, and then completely reformed. Restarted, renewed, remade. Because in the way it is, that is like telling me that, say I am but a wee child again, getting abused. Again. And The cops show up to deal with it. Actually, fuck. Let's go with a better example. Let's go with an actual example from my life. Fucking, my abuser at my place, beating me, but because there's no visible scars on me and she's left some on her by beating me, because, bruises take a minute. And, sometimes throwing forks at people, if they don't directly stab them hard enough, they're not really going to leave a mark for that long. By the time the cops got there, they were taking her side. Without realizing, one, that I'm a foster kid. Or, about to go into foster care. That there's over 80 complaints in CPS, and not really understanding the fullness of the situation. A lot of cops, in my opinion, and from personal experience, a lot of times will start with violence. And just because someone is not immediately obeying you does not give you the right to shoot them. You don't, if I was disobeying you as your kid, you would just pull out a gun and be like, you better fucking calm down right now. That doesn't make sense. And as a police officer, they need to be better trained. I have heard people in customer service put up with more shit than cops do.
I've worked in customer service.
Yeah, I'm sure you know. I've had people cuss me out because they didn't have the right number of pickles on their hamburger.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. And they want to tell me...
And the sad part is, I was working at McDonald's back when you were still in diapers.
Oh, there's a point.
And a customer said that, and the manager who trained me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do, young man? They're complaining about the number of pickles. Move out the way. What are you going to do? I want to see this. Chucked it, hit him straight in the fucking face with it. And he's like, I'm going to sue you guys. He walked out. It's like, that guy's not even regular. He's from out of state. He's here for a tournament. Fucking, we don't need him. And it wasn't for the fact that I was being a dick. It's like, you're going to complain. They told you how many pickles come on it. You didn't order extra pickle. I
had a woman at the Arby's drive-thru. Okay, so a beef and cheddar. Let's break down the sandwich, why don't we? Roast beef is cooked till it hits about, 400 degrees in the internal temp because of the way it's cooked at Arby's.
I go by the way it cuts. I go for the time.
At Arby's, the way it goes. And it only can sit out for a certain amount of time and until it hits a certain temperature. It's both of those things, right?
Once it gets sliced, it'll start dropping like an anchor.
Yeah, but it has to average somewhere above around, it has to be over 200 to still be good. Like the internal temperature. Right? Perfectly acceptable.
Are we talking about the uncut roast beef or
cut? Uncut. Like when it's on the slicer and it's being used for sandwiches.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hot as fuck, okay? Yeah. Buns get toasted.
My hands are melting.
Yeah. Buns get toasted before being put in the wrapper. And the cheese is kept in a warmer so it stays melted for the beef and cheddars.
I kind of already figured that much.
Of course. You know what I mean? And...
Next up? KFC Circuits recipe.
At the window. A lady at the window tried telling me her beef and cheddar was cold. I could feel the heat from the sandwich while it was wrapped through my glove. And she was like, well, it's cold. I was like, ma'am, if you hand that back to me, we're going to have to make you another one, but it's going to be the same temperature. You know what I mean? Because that's pretty much the way it's got to go. It's not
you have a standard you have to serve food at.
Yes. And she didn't like that. She noticed I was chewing gum. She was chewing her gum herself. Difference is, mine has a silver wrapper because I chew, extra? Mm-hmm. So that's got a silver wrapper. It was a Wrigley's gum wrapper she stuck inside her sandwich and demanded a refund. And my boss was like, Bree, you were chewing gum. I was like, I let everyone know before I came into work today, my wisdom teeth are coming through. If I don't chew gum, I'm going to be in pain because I've got to get... I'm basically cheating. I have to do it some way, and most of the times I tuck it. And she managed to catch me after I'd closed the window with the gum in my mouth because I was chewing it a little bit more towards the front of my mouth. And she put the Wrigley wrapper in there. And she was like, she went off. She's like, well, there's a food wrapper. I was like, ma'am, you're being really extra for no reason. And she's like, well, I'm telling corporate and all of this. And I was like, ma'am, if you don't like the way the food is prepared, maybe you should go to another fast food franchise. And
see, that's why I couldn't do window or cashier. Because I would absolutely be Deadpool.
One of my coworkers, literally, some guy was yelling at her because he ordered the 2 for $5 at my job. He was like, well, I want single with cheese. And she was like, and what would you like as your other sandwiches? 2 for $5. And he was like, I want single with cheese. But he didn't say it he was like, he just kept repeating that same line. And she was just trying to clarify because, over headsets and we don't want to fuck up the order. And he wasn't being like, hey, I want 2 singles with cheese for the 2 for $5. Real clear, real easy, not difficult, and that's pretty much how anyone else would say it. And she was just trying to get the clarification. He came to the window, he's like, you should just beat it into her. I can beat it into her myself. I've seen a coworker jump to my drive-thru window so fast because she was like, "Oh, you're gonna beat it into me? Come in there." Really unprofessional, but like, fast food workers put up with a lot more shit than cops do 9 times out of 10.
I wouldn't know. I've never had to go to a nut job who just sliced some people open. So
that's different. I mean, in the case, like, there was that case recently. What was it? The foster girl. She was getting beat up in her home. She was also a person of color. And when she called the cops, she called family members. She was on the phone with them, and they were like going at her. And she ended up getting a knife to defend herself. And I don't expect everyone to know this, but in foster homes, you are not always put with sane people. You are not put with people.
Are you talking about that black chick who was recently shot while holding a knife? That whole case is double-edged.
It is a very double-edged sword. But I mean, in the sense of the situation, from what I've gleaned, I haven't done an extensive amount of research on it, obviously, so I'm not going to claim that I have. The cops shouldn't have tried shooting her. Knowing the pretense of what was going on, and what had been going down, and 2, where they were going, they should have first, in general, should have tried de-escalating, especially in a situation like that. A lot of people don't understand what goes on within the foster system, and in a lot of it, you have a different understanding of the foster system than, say, I really do.
Me, for instance.
Yes. But my point is, in that situation, and in a lot of situations, they should de-escalate. I get where there's situations where it may have to be gun first, but there is a lot where the gun comes first where it shouldn't be. Because you're first...
And I'm not saying that every shooting is unwarranted.
Oh, of course.
But like the video that I watched, the cop had to make a split-second decision on whether this girl gets stabbed, this other lady gets stabbed, or this girl gets shot. Do I believe he should have shot her in the kneecap? Probably so. You shoot her in the kneecap, she ain't holding the knife no more.
Or go for her hand. Something other than, like, a direct kill shot. It should, in my opinion, it should almost never be a kill shot. If it's going to be a kill shot, it probably shouldn't just be the police there.
They don't always have that option.
I know it's not.
I'm not making the case for the police on every single case where a shooting happens. Just that from the facts, just from looking at the video, she had a knife. A cop had a split-second decision. This other lady gets stabbed, or this girl gets shot. They have to make a choice and commit the lesser of 2 evils.
Yeah, I'm
feel not justifying the cop for his decision.
I know that. I'm just saying, in a lot of situations, there's definitely the need for them to be properly trained on de-escalation. Because if a customer service is trying to de-escalate a fucking customer just because it's in their job description, there's no reason the cops shouldn't be able to do that. Because there's a lot of situations where violence is not going to be
paid, what? I think now it's like $30 an hour to go through training.
And with a lot of fast food workers still get paid damn near minimum wage.
At this point, nobody should be making anything less than $10 an hour. Just because the fact that, we need workers. Well, pay them. You're a multi-billion-dollar company.
If I end up getting this new job, I will get paid $10 an hour.
But, and my cause is not to stir up a shit pot of controversy. It's to see your view on it.
Oh, no, of course.
And for me, you already know I do this. We pointed it out well over a year ago. Because you love pointing out to people that when people start jumping my ass for saying this was justified and that wasn't justified, people jump on my ass, and you have to keep reminding people I go on a case-by-case basis only.
Yeah.
I don't group all of them. This is systemic racism. No, I look at each
I think there definitely is that. But, like, case. I understand that there's going to be details.
There might be a pattern of systemic racism, but I don't look at it that way. I look at it case by case.
You also don't warn yourself with the ability to be able to say that. And in that case, that is completely understandable. It's like me saying, I don't think I have the experience, nor that I don't have the place to speak on something. And a lot of times, that's how you view it. And I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but that's what it's like. You're like, I'm not warranted to make this decision. I'm not warranted to say this is what it is. But in this specific scenario, this is what I see, and this is how I'm viewing it. And that is completely understandable. But you're not being like, oh my God, well, there's no way this is a thing, because you don't see that as your place. You go on a case-by-case basis, and for you, that's what works, and that's what makes sense.
If I see an underlying or overlying trend, I point it out, but I don't make this assumption that it's systemic racism. Black people are just egging to be shot. No. Not at all. Like, for instance, going to the very touchy subject of, like, George Floyd. When the police officer who was responsible for his death was charged, I even mentioned on my podcast the last 2 charges. He's dead to rights on. He should have been found guilty of them. I don't believe he should have been charged with the first count of murder.
And that's your opinion. You know what I mean? And that's the way you see it, and that's what you gathered from what you learned and from your research that
I did plenty of research. Kind of had to.
You know what I mean? And in my opinion, and from my morality, because my morality tends to be a lot more compassionate than yours, old man, motherfucker should be rotting where the fuck he's rotting, because do I need to turn on the lights soon?
No, we still got plenty of light.
Okay.
If I can still see you in this,
to the point I need to turn on the light, let me know. I got a million different light fixtures.
Like I said, I didn't know how long this is going to last, and we're already well into the hour and 5 minute mark. But this may end up being a multi-part video. Who knows?
Okay. I think in that case, yeah, my morality lies with some guy ever has to call out that he can't breathe. You know what I mean? You're obviously doing something fucking wrong, and I didn't pay too closely to the trial. I found out that the man was sentenced, and god fucking damn it, he deserved it. The people who were fighting against him being sentenced on any charge were absolute utter fucking fools.
No, and see, that's where I differ from a lot of people. I think he should. I was absolutely for being charged, just not the first count.
You wanted to make it the appropriate charges in the way that you. I
wanted to make it a justified, true justice verdict instead of. With the morality of the full situation, I understand the first charge being, coming out the way it did. Mm-hmm. Because of the way my morality lies, and a lot of people's will. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's the facts of the matter. Emotions tend to get in the way for all humans. Judges are not. Emotions came through, and they already proved that the jury was tainted by Black Lives Matter member who was adamantly trying to go against what would have been true justice for social justice.
Hey.
And I'm not saying that sometimes social justice isn't warranted. But when a jury is being threatened by members by elected officials, if they don't come up with the right verdict, I think at that point you should throw a mistrial. Straight up, the judge tell the jury it's over, don't even worry about it, jury out and throw the shit away. Because the addresses and phone numbers of the jurors were released while they were deliberating. The first day they were deliberating.
Jesus Christ.
They got released that day. They're not supposed to be released until the day after everything is over. Just so you know. So I believe we were robbed of a true justice in favor of a social justice verdict. Yeah, I know.
I know.
And then you have an adverse case like Breonna Taylor. I think that's her name.
Yes.
Now, with her case, I'm not as intimately aware of everything as you are, because you followed it a lot more than me.
She's a woman, after all, and what do you get from a feminist?
I believe that her shooting was wrong. I believe the cops should go to jail for shooting her, for causing her death. At the same time, and no, I'm not butting this, at the same time, you have to take into account the fact that her boyfriend was actually dealing drugs.
Dealing or not, there was no warrant.
It was a no-knock warrant, actually.
Yeah, so that makes it like a million times even worse. And Breonna never should have been caught in that crossfire, no matter what happened.
Agree,
if she didn't jump over his fucking body, there was no reason for her to get fucking shot. And that's coming from, like, the depths of the fury I feel over a lot that happened there. People get with shitty people, but doesn't mean you get caught in the crossfire. That's like shooting a fucking little kid. Just because they're in the room. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
And at the same time, the only thing I can say, even coming close to semblance of a defense on that, is... a kid's in the room, you're actively trying not to hit the kid, you're pointing your gun at the other end, and then the asshole you're shooting at grabs the kid and, now shoot, bitches!
Yeah, but that's...
They're going to force you to kill that kid in order to kill him, to keep him from killing anyone more.
The Breonna Taylor situation wasn't like that.
I understand that. I'm only making a
I understand
very
And that's what I'm saying.
Comparison.
I literally said that. I was like, unless she had literally jumped in front of his body to fucking save him, there is no reason she should have been shot.
And I can't disagree with you on that. I'm not going to disagree
That'd
with
be
you
like you getting into a shootout with the cops and then them shooting me and I'm standing like, even just 2 feet away. Like, bitch, if you're a cop, you should probably be a little bit better trained.
They're supposed to be trained to shoot within a certain area. And shooting somebody 6 to even 2 foot away, they're not more than, 20 foot away from them when they're shooting?
If it's a kill shot at that, you done fucked up.
Oh, my ass went numb again.
Would you like a pillow on your chair?
No.
Luna,
But
say hi to father. Hey.
I figured I would point out that both these cases are weird because George Floyd, the only thing that people cared about was the 8 minutes or whatever, 8 minutes, 9 seconds, whatever it was, that he was shouting, "I can't breathe." The only thing I can scientifically say about that, if you got enough air to say you can't breathe, you can still breathe. But
Luna said, but what, man? But what?
But and then on the other hand, you have Breonna Taylor, who her family settled. I don't think they should have.
Oh, for sure, definitely not. And
then the cop who shot her has gotten off. I do not agree with that. But I think these settlements are... It's going to sound weird, but I think these settlements were more a joke. Because it's like, okay, we're going to get you settled for this much money and a promise of police reform. And they don't realize police reform is then you get fucking put at the back of the line in that one. Because it's not their priority. Their priority is to stop the riots that happened like last summer. The riots that happened last summer. Like the riot that happened at the Capitol. Yeah. Those are all not okay. Yeah.
We very different there. Yeah, I think we got so off topic on this podcast.
You have an opinion about it, but I get that. I'm saying it's not okay for...
Oh, tell them what's up.
I don't agree with those protests having become violent incidences. Not necessarily the backing behind them, but the violence that came out of them is what I don't agree with.
We got really off topic. I didn't go for private reasons.
Because these are your opinions and you're part of the LGBT community. That's how.
Hi.
But yeah, I think we better stop this one, and I will probably have another conversation with you. We're going to be dressed in different clothes then, though. But
I'll probably still be wearing the same clothes. Come on now.
Yeah, don't need to see.
I was looking at...
Sure.
Shut up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You wouldn't get it.
Anyway,
Hey, Luna,
it was nice being able to interview you for a little bit of time.
Hey, Luna.
I hope you got something out of this.
My dog not cooperating. Come here.
We will see if we can't set up another interview. It may not be this month. It may be next month. I don't know yet.
Gosh, gonna take the pride out of Pride Month.
Would you rather continue or just stop?
Come here.
Love is like a circle.
Come here, Luna.
It's not like a square.
Help her get
it's
up.
Like a circle.
Yeah. I wanted her to say goodbye.
No.
Yes,
She's
let her
fine.
say goodbye.
Okay. Apparently I've got two other people I might be able to interview as a couple. I don't know. I've got to figure that one out. But it won't be tonight, as I am now critically in danger of being late to home and having my wife be like, "What the hell are you doing?" But we're going to let this one go. We will continue this interview.
You got to do a close-up on Luna before you go. I don't make the rules.
I make the rules. Hello?
It's Luna's rules. She has to have
you're
a close-up.
funny. Next thing you know, you'll be telling the dog told you to stab somebody.
She did, actually. It was you.
Okay, let's pick this up.
Come here, Luna. Come here.
Hey.
She says something. What's up?
Okay, now we will see you guys next time. Have fun, and remember, this is the Carl Experience. Please click and subscribe.
Don't listen to his clickbaiting.